So this is a quick look at how to move the windows around. Now in Studio 2014, if you click on the View ribbon and move over to the Actions group, there is an alternative translation layout. So at the moment I'm showing my translation results window on the top, my term recognition over here on the top right, and my editing window down here on the bottom. If I click on this button, this immediately switches it round, because many people have said when they've been using Studio 2009 and 2011 that they'd actually rather work this way round. Now you don't have this handy facility to swap them around like that in Studio 2009 or 2011, but you can achieve that by moving the windows around. So I will show you how to do that. Now the first thing to note is that in the article I used this little drop down in order to separate out just one window. So now that I've done that, you can see I've now got the translation results window that's now free to move where I want. And as I click on it and I move it around, you can see the controls appear, and depending on the location on the screen, the controls will move somewhere else. So if I was to drop this into the middle up here, that will drop it in and it will join this group, so it will become an extra tab in the term recognition and term-based search. So I'll show you that. If I drop this up here and I drop it in the middle, that's now become an extra tab in there. Clearly I don't want it in there because there's not really enough room for it, but that's what that particular button does. Now the other parts of the control, if I move to the left, you can see how it highlights part of the screen and shows you what will happen if I release it at that point. So if I let it go there, it's going to go to the left of the term recognition box, and I now have a separate window like that. If I pull this up again and I drop it in here, for example, and I let go, I've now put it above the concordance search window. If I move this down a little bit so you can see it, so I've now got my concordance search at the bottom here, my translation memory results at the top here. Now one thing that gets on that takes up a bit of screen space and you might not necessarily need it is that it repeats the source segment here. You can change that by going to the File options, which is the same as Tools options, and I'll show you there is actually a shortcut you can use for that. Because we've got the Windows ribbon, if you press Alt F, that immediately takes you to this window, and then press T, so you can do that very quickly. Alt F T, that brings up your Tools options. And in the translation results window in the editor group, I can uncheck the Show Document Source segment, click on OK, and that removes that from the top. So now you have a little bit more space. So if you wanted to show the windows with the concordance and the translation results together, that buys you a little bit more room at the top. However, we're going to look at changing this manually to make it look like the other. So I'm going to take this off, drop this back into this tab again, so I can pick them all up together. First thing I'm going to do is just drop this whole thing down to the bottom of the screen like that. So that's now put this across the bottom of the screen. And my term recognition, I would pick that up, drop this down here at the bottom and over to the right, like that. And so now I've just achieved exactly the same effect as the alternate translation layout in the View tab, but by dragging and moving the windows around. So I hope by now you're beginning to get an idea of how that works. If I wanted to extend the screen across altogether, if I had two monitors for example, I could pick the box up like this and move it over onto my other screen where you can't see it now. Or alternatively, if I wasn't using the terminology, I could just click the windows and they're closed. So you can really move things around as much as you like. Say for example I didn't want the term-based viewer over there, I could for example dock it, and that's put it permanently in place here, but I might decide that I want it somewhere else. So I could pick the term-based viewer window up. I might decide I want it all over here on the left, so I can stick it over here on the left. And then if I make that on auto hide as well, you can see what that does is I've now got my term-based viewer and my preview both as tabs on the right hand side. So you can really move these windows around as much as you like. And if you get in a complete mess with the screen and you can't put it back, in fact let's just make a little mess. Let me reset the window layout. This is what it's going to show you really. So I can reset the Windows layout, asks you if you want to be sure, you say yes, puts everything back as it is. So if you did make a mess when you're playing around, and you'd put that down there say, and you'd pick this up and you'd put this one down there, and then you picked up your comments window. Put this one, we should put this on the side as well, put this on the side of that one, so we've got 3 across the bottom. A messages window, I'll take that and drop that down here as well. Probably not too clever because it doesn't really fit in this, it doesn't become very useful, but actually it's not too bad. My concordance search, what should we do with my concordance search and my translation memory results? Let's say for some bizarre reason actually I never bother with the concordance. No, let's say we did, because we're trying to make a mess of the screen. So I'll put this over on the left here like that. Very unrealistic. Who would work with things on the right like this? And then I pick up this, float it, and I put this, say, underneath it. So I've got my translation memory results on the concordance search on the bottom, my translation memory results on the top. There just weren't any on that particular segment. There we go, that's a bit better. I've got my term recognition on the bottom left, my term-based search open on there, my comments and my errors all open for business as we're working along. And if I minimize the ribbon, I suppose it gives you a bit more space. Actually, it doesn't look that bad. So you can move it around as much as you like. And if you do make a complete mess of it and you want to put it back, it's really simple. You can click on Reset Window Layout. So if you wanted to make a quick change to help you do a particular type of job you are working on, it's easy to do and then very easy to reset so you can get back to where you were again. And that's it. That's how you move the windows about.